Picture this. A man walks into his doctor's office for a routine checkup. Blood pressure, cholesterol, weight. The usual. Everything comes back borderline. Not great, not terrible. His doctor says keep an eye on it. He leaves feeling vaguely reassured. 2 years later, he has a heart attack at 53. Now here is the thing. There was a clue sitting in plain sight the whole time. And it had nothing to do with his blood work. It had to do with how hard he could squeeze. Grip strength has been measured in medicine for decades. Back in the 50s and 60s, sports scientists and physiotherapists used hand dynamometers to track muscle recovery in injured athletes. That was about it. Nobody was connecting a man's handshake strength to his heart. That connection only started to emerge in the 80s and 90s, when researchers studying aging populations in Finland and elsewhere noticed something odd. Men with weaker grip strength in middle age were dying sooner. Not just from muscle problems. From everything. So what exactly is grip strength? It is exactly what it sounds like. You squeeze a device called a dynamometer as hard as you can. You do it a few times, and the highest reading is your number. That is it. No needles. No fasting. No waiting 3 days for lab results. The measurement takes about 90 seconds. And yet, when researchers started feeding these numbers into large population studies, what they found was remarkable enough to land in one of the most respected medical journals in the world. In 2015, a study called the PURE trial was published in The Lancet. Nearly 140,000 people, ages 35 to 70, from 17 countries across the world. Researchers tracked them for 4 years and measured grip strength at the start. Then they watched what happened. Heart attacks. Strokes. Deaths from cardiovascular disease. Deaths from all causes. And when they ran the numbers, the results stopped a lot of cardiologists in their tracks. Grip strength was not just a curiosity. It was a serious predictor of who lived and who did not. Here are the numbers, and I want you to actually hear these. For every 5 kilograms of grip strength you are missing, roughly 11 pounds, your risk of dying from any cause goes up by 16%. Your risk of dying from cardiovascular disease specifically goes up by 17%. Your risk of stroke goes up by 9%. Your risk of a heart attack goes up by 7%. These are not tiny statistical blips. These are consistent, meaningful increases across nearly 140,000 people from rich countries, poor countries, and everywhere in between. And here is the million-dollar question. How does grip strength compare to something we already trust, like blood pressure? In the PURE study, grip strength predicted death and cardiovascular events better than systolic blood pressure. Better. Not the same. Better. That does not mean blood pressure is irrelevant. It absolutely still matters. But it tells us that grip strength is capturing something about your body that even a blood pressure cuff misses. Something deeper. Something that has been quietly building for years before your numbers go wrong. Most people get this completely wrong, so let me fix that. When you hear grip strength, you probably think forearms. Maybe you picture someone who does a lot of manual work or lifts weights. But grip strength is not really about your hands at all. It is a window into your entire body. Your total muscle mass. Your neuromuscular health. Your hormone levels. Your inflammation status. Your nutrition over years. Your daily physical activity. Researchers call it a biomarker of overall physiological health. Your hand is just a measuring point. Your whole body is what is being read. That distinction matters more than you might think. Because it explains why low grip strength does not just predict heart disease. It also predicts diabetes, chronic kidney disease, cognitive decline, depression in older men, higher rates of hospitalization, longer recovery times after surgery. A 2023 review in Frontiers in Physiology called grip strength a fundamental metric for assessing overall physical capability and a strong predictor of mortality, disability, and cardiovascular events. That is a lot of weight for one simple squeeze to carry. But the data backs it up. So what is a normal number for a man in his late 40s or early 50s? In large population studies, a healthy man in that age range typically lands somewhere in the low to mid-40s in kilograms on his strongest squeeze. Men in their mid-30s tend to peak around 47 to 50 kilograms. By the time you hit 50 to 54, the average drifts down to roughly 43 to 46 kilograms. These are population averages, not a personal diagnosis. But they give you a reference point. A place to start the conversation. The threshold that researchers use to flag concern in men is a grip strength below around 26 to 28 kilograms. That is roughly 57 to 60 pounds. Once you drop into that range, the risk curves for heart disease and early death start to steepen noticeably. And the risk is graded, meaning it is not a cliff edge where everything is fine above 26 and dangerous below it. Every 5 kilograms matters. Think of it like blood pressure. There is no magic number where danger suddenly begins. The lower it goes, the higher the concern. Here is something that genuinely surprised me when I dug into this research. Grip strength starts to decline naturally around age 50. But in people who go on to develop heart disease, diabetes, or chronic kidney disease, the decline often starts earlier and moves faster. Longitudinal studies show that the steeper your grip strength drop in midlife, the more likely something is brewing in your cardiovascular system, sometimes years before your cholesterol or blood pressure numbers look alarming. This is what your body is actually trying to tell you, long before the standard tests catch up. A 2010 study followed over 2,000 men aged 45 to 68 for 25 years. 25 years. The men with lower grip strength in midlife had significantly higher rates of functional limitations, disability, and all-cause mortality decades later. Not a little higher. Significantly higher. Sound familiar? This is the same pattern we see with blood pressure and cholesterol. The seeds of what happens to you at 65 are often planted in your 40s. Grip strength is one of the earliest indicators that those seeds are there. Now let me be very clear about what this test is and what it is not. A low grip strength number is a signal. It is a reason to pay attention and have a proper conversation with your doctor. It is not a diagnosis. It does not mean you are about to have a heart attack. And a high grip strength number does not give you a free pass. A heavy smoker with excellent grip strength still carries serious cardiovascular risk. Grip strength works alongside blood pressure, cholesterol, family history, and lifestyle. It adds to the picture. It does not replace the picture. Another misconception worth clearing up. You cannot squeeze a stress ball for 2 weeks and fix your cardiovascular health. Isolated hand exercises will improve your grip number a little. But the reason grip strength predicts heart health is because it reflects years of physical activity, muscle mass, and overall physiological function. The benefit comes from the whole body. Resistance training for your legs, back, and core. Walking, cycling, swimming. Adequate protein. Decent sleep. Grip strength is the readout. Your lifestyle is what writes the score. So what should you actually do with this information? First, get a baseline. A Jamar dynamometer is the clinical gold standard, and many physiotherapists and sports medicine clinics have one. Some GP practices do too. If you cannot access one easily, ask your doctor about it directly. You can also buy a reasonably accurate digital hand dynamometer for around 30 to 50 pounds or dollars. It will not replace a clinical measurement, but it will give you a number to track over time. Tracking the trend matters just as much as the number itself. Let me paint you a picture of what using this information well actually looks like. You are 48. You test your grip and you land at 31 kilograms. Below the average for your age, not yet in the danger zone, but trending in the wrong direction. You take that number to your GP. You ask about your cardiovascular risk profile. You get your cholesterol checked, your blood pressure measured properly, and you start a simple resistance training program 3 times a week. You retest in 6 months. That is not catastrophizing. That is being proactive. That is exactly what this test is designed to prompt. The broader point here is this. Medicine is slowly waking up to the idea that muscle strength is not just about fitness. It is a vital sign in the truest sense of the phrase. The 2015 Lancet paper did not just add grip strength to a list of interesting statistics. It shifted how researchers think about cardiovascular risk assessment. It showed that something as simple as a squeeze can capture a dimension of your health that blood tests and blood pressure cuffs alone cannot fully see. That is a genuinely meaningful shift in how we understand the body. If there is one thing I want you to walk away with today, it is this. Your grip strength is not just a number on a dial. It is a reflection of how well your whole body is aging. It is one of the clearest, cheapest, and most accessible windows into your long-term cardiovascular health that currently exists. You do not need a specialist referral to start paying attention to it. You just need to know it matters. And now you do. So the next step is yours. Get the number. Know where you stand. Then go and do something about it. If this video gave you something useful, subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. I cover the health topics that actually matter for men in midlife, in plain language, without the panic and without the jargon. Drop a comment below if you have ever had your grip strength tested, or if this is the first time you have heard about it. I read every one. And if you know someone who should hear this, share it with them. Sometimes the most useful thing you can do for someone you care about is hand them the right information at the right time.